Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day or night it is that you're listening to this or watching this. I hope that it is good for you. You did not accidentally download a smooth jazz podcast. This is EDC TV, and I am your host, Grant Lamontang of Multitool.com. With me tonight, as usual, are my good buddies Abe and Inky. And tonight we are going to be looking at blade styles, because, you know, we're all knife guys going way, way back. But before we begin, I have a little surprise for Abe. I didn't warn him about this before we started, so if you're watching this on YouTube, watch his face as I pull this up, because this is exactly the knife he was talking about last week, if you remember.
Cool.
I actually picked this up last week. I managed to find it brand new in the box in a hunting store in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And there is the knife itself. See if I can get it without the glare there.
Oh, you got the black version?
I got the black version. I actually have the pink version from back in the day at SHOT. And that is it there. That is the Ashworth Turtle.
Yeah.
And it is one of my favorites. It has this very difficult to access liner lock and a very tiny but extremely sharp blade, and it falls really well. As you can see, it looks like a little turtle when it's all folded up. And you can see if I can get this thing oriented properly. You can actually open this one one-handed, which makes it very handy.
Yeah.
And as Abe said, it comes with a money clip that I just dropped on the floor. So there you go. It's got a money clip with a sort of a turtle print on it, and all you got to do is undo this little screw in the center, take one of these black panels off, and replace it with the money clip end. It's a really neat little knife. I got one at SHOT years ago, and yeah, it's a great little knife. I found this one in the wild, and I mean, let's face it, when you find a discontinued knife like that in the wild, you have to bring it home. It's just mandatory. Especially since it's brand new in a completely unmolested box. I mean, even the corners aren't beat up. So
that's a great find right there, man.
Yeah. And it's a cool. Like I said, I think it's a cool design because it can pass unnoticed, right?
Absolutely.
It looks like a piece of jewelry, and a guy can carry one if you got a color you like on your keychain. You could clip it to something, nobody'd notice that, like in the inside of your pocket. Even if you pulled it out, they would think it's a money clip, you said, or a woman can wear it like a brooch, right? I thought
like
it was
a lot
clever.
of Columbia Rivers designs, I think that they've actually shortchanged themselves nowadays with the prevalence of desktop CNCs and 3D printers. I would like to see, the potential for, bringing back something like the Zilla tool or the Ashworth Turtle or a few other designs that you could 3D print new handles for them. So I think that would be a really cool possibility if we were to see those ones coming back.
Yeah. They've been pretty good at how'd you say, sourcing creative designers. Like I don't know how in general the public, because I really pay attention, but remember the fake plier knife? I thought that was very clever. It was a good way to carry a knife around on your hip, a fixed blade around on your hip, and it looked like a set of pliers from the handle. But then when you pulled it out,
that was great.
Yeah, I thought that was very clever. Whether or not the execution was to like everybody's liking, what knife is what knife is. Like not too many are universally liked by everybody. But no, that's cool. I'm glad you found that. So
yeah, it's about the only exciting thing I managed to find while I was there this time. Shout out to our member Chaco, who I think recently cleared out one of the pawn shops. So when I got there, there wasn't really much left for me to waste money on.
Well, he saved you, in a way.
Exactly. He saved me a pile of money this time. So, we have a topic tonight, and that is blade styles. Abe, why don't you get us started and let us know, well, what kind of blade styles you like? What do you sort of gravitate towards?
I'm a bit of a, with the tip position, because that was a big thing, especially as a knife designer. I actually have a couple of knife designs of where the variation of them is the tip positioning. So I tend to be, my favorite knife for me to carry, especially in a folding knife, tends to end up with a tip, I don't know if you can see that, that's just a little bit above center, basically a drop point, not a spear point. I tend to like them. Even with a clipped back style to them. I like a drop point. Now, like if we were just talking about this earlier, I like this one, not as much. I think I would probably put shoulder blade on there with a little bit more belly. This is a buck. The one I showed you before was a Griptilian. But there's a common theme. I tend to gravitate towards drop points. Now, with my pocket knives, I will do a clip point, but here's a variation, like a change out. The tip starts to trail a little bit, right? Like, I don't know if you can see it. The tip starts to trail a little bit, and that's where sometimes I will buy a trailing tip blade. But oddly enough, it's more aesthetic appeal, and I don't carry them that much. So I'm a drop point guy, really, because to me a drop point's a good compromise in tip engagement, right? So you have to cut something over and you can get the tip involved, but yet you don't, on a trailing point you got to go too high, and on a spear point, it's kind of close. It's close game between the two of them, but it's not like a utility knife, right? This is definitely tip engagement right off the bat, right? So that's mine. That's the short of it. I tend to aesthetics. It's a blend between utility and aesthetics because I like the drop point, but obviously it's not as effective at doing probably the 90% of the everyday chores that we always see yourself doing, like cutting a package open or a box or stuff like that. Because we're not doing anything amazing. I'm not fighting off an alien horde with my knife most of the time. Sometimes, yes, but yeah, it's a good compromise. I mean, that's it.
What about you, Inky? What kind of blade styles tend to get your motor running? What do you like?
I'm a drop point, mostly a drop point guy. Mostly for looks. I don't care where the tits go or where my tits go. I just make sure I always go for the look of it. I do like I guess it's a elongated drop point. I don't know what you call it. Almost.
Okay. Do you have an example?
Almost
of anything like that
starbustery.
Okay.
Don't yell at me. I'll call the police. Anyway, but I think the most useful blade is something like a sheep's foot blade for most use. Because always you could use it as a scissor or a blade. It's straight. It's easy to sharpen on the spot. Sharpen pencils, cut anything, but they're just so not sexy. Like when you put it next to me, you could really tell how sexy it's not. You know what I mean?
I don't know. The Spyderco Mariner has always been one of the really, I mean, that's just a fantastic knife there. It's basically just the police model that's not pointy, and I like it a lot.
I remember once getting a custom from Pete Martizelli, the guy in Canada. I think he passed away. It was called the Razor, but it wasn't spelled like, it was RAIAISER or something. It was just a sheep's foot. It was like came out right around. It looked like a Prowler almost when it was closed.
Right.
But when you open it, that's another great blade. But I don't really like clip points that much. But I like clip points in my fixed blades.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that about the Razor because I'm also a big fan of drop points, but I am really starting to really appreciate chisel points. Yeah. And of course, the one that comes to mind most for that is the CRKT Razel, which was recently re-released, and I got to see if I can still get my hands on one. I had one of the large and the small models, and I traded the small one away or sold it or something. I can't remember which. And the larger one I actually ended up giving to my father, and it lives in his glove compartment.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, that sheepsfoot blade or a coping blade or a utility blade, like I said, the tip, like this is your utility blade, right? So the trapezoidal type of thing. But then the sheep's foot, what defines the sheep's hoof or sheep's foot, however you want to say it, is the fact that the angle curves. And you're right, the tip engages down here. So it's easier to actually use because your hand's not up in the way like it is with a drop point or a trailing tip. And so you can actually look down at what you're cutting by with a draw cut like that. Great knife, but like you said, it's not like you get the occasional one like the sway back jack. If you've got a sway back jack, that tends to look pretty good. And if you get the modern version of the sway back jack, some of them are done with a little bit more pizzazz. But for the most part,
you got the Wharncliffe is almost like a sheep's foot, you know?
Yeah. It is. It's got a sharper angle on the back. That's the defining thing, which is like
it's got more of a point on the front. Actually, might be probably more useful if you needed to go into something else a little bit. If you need to puncture a little. I don't think the point is center though. I think it's a little lower than center. I like my point to be straight ahead.
Yeah, and the Wharncliffes like this, the utility blades
right down the middle.
Utility blades are just basically a disposable version of the Wharncliffe. So you're right, and for
Yeah.
me, it's all about. Oh, this is how I explain it when I'm selling the knife to somebody. The point engagement's here, and look how low my hand is, right? So I can see what I'm doing. With these, when I use a drop point, we go back to my reptilian. I'm up to get that tip engaged. Look how much higher I'm up. So, anyways, Grant, what's yours?
I actually very much like the drop point. I've been a Swiss Army knife user my entire life, and so that drop point that you get on a Swiss Army knife is kind of my. I guess it's the most familiar to me. It's definitely the one I appreciate. When it comes to fixed blades, I also very much like that sort of design because I'm actually a huge fan of the Grohmann belt knife, which the blade is more of a leaf shape, but it does come with that sort of drop point tip, similar to slightly elongated Swiss Army knife tip.
That's a great shaped blade, but another one that I don't think is real sexy, but another great blade shape, man.
Yeah, that elliptical blade shape is unique. Very, very, very unique.
I really, really like the Grohmann series. Lately, I've been carrying a number 4 instead of a number 1. The number 1 has always been my favorite, but I really like the added size of the number 4 lately. I've been appreciating it a lot more. It's an excellent chopper. It's an excellent all-around camp knife.
Which one's the number 4? Is that the survival knife one? Which got a bit of a clip on the back?
It's the, let me see if I can pull one up here for you.
That's because I think that blade, I off the top of my head, I'm not picturing it because I know I like the bird and trout one, and I like the number 3. I don't like the navy version. The handle on the navy version isn't as comfortable as the regular Russell belt knife style, right? It's just me. It's a personal preference. It doesn't go.
Yeah, it's a great.
Yeah,
There's
that's
the number
one. That's
4.
the survival knife.
I've got
right?
one in buffalo handles, yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was the carving knife or the skinning knife, but apparently it's a survival. And yeah, I've got the one in buffalo handles. It's on my Instagram many times, and it's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I've got a couple. I've got a number. Actually, I think I have one of each. The only one I don't have is the Moose Hunter. That thing's uglier than shit to me. Sorry, guys. I just don't. It's not. But I'm not saying it's ugly. Period. Like we talked about before, everybody's got a personal preference. I like the ellipticals. I love that one. That to me, that's a good looking blade. I like that knife. It's got a unique look to it, and it's a nice blend between what I call organic lines. So organic lines are more curvy, and then your sharp ones, your geometric lines. It's a nice combination. But that Moose one, sorry, I just can't get into it.
Well, that's fine. Everybody's got their own tastes. The number 1 Russell belt knife from Grohmann there. I mean, it was such a beautiful knife that even Cold Steel had to try to ruin it.
Was it the Grohmann Skinner or something like that? Remember that one, the Grohmann Skinner?
See, I thought that one, the number 4, was the Skinner. Let me just look this up here.
Yeah.
I have in the regular Russell, the original Russell design, I have a Herder's version, I have an Othello version, I have the Cold Steel version, I have the Grohmann version. At one point in time, I got kind of a little obsessed with collecting the different versions of it from things. And the hard one to get was the Othello version. I can't remember where. I think Othello might be German. So
the 101 is the Skinner there, Inky, and that's not the same one I was talking about.
Yeah,
that was my mistake.
I'll tell you what I noticed. The best looking blades are not the very best all-around blades. But for the stuff most of us do, there's something about carrying something, you love the way it looks. When I pull out my knife, I'm like, I like this. The
Grohmann knives go so far beyond just the way they look. I mean, they are great. Absolutely beautiful to look at. But to use, I mean, they're just so comfortable in the hand. They're just fantastic blades. And I'm not just saying that because their factory is 2 hours up the road from me.
It's really 2 hours and 7 minutes. So the way you exaggerate is ridiculous, and you can't do that on a podcast.
Yeah, no.
See, if it was 2 hours and 6 minutes, it would have been okay.
Yeah, because you hit 7.
Now, what I found was in the early days, Grohmann worked with a lot of stainless steel, and they did a lot of hollow grinding. I think the knife took on a different aspect as far as appeal goes and utility when they started going into things like D2 and flat grinding them, because that blade looks really good flat grounded. I mean, it looks good. Hollow ground blades tend to look good. They just look good.
Yes.
it had people. I know. I remember having the conversation with Michelle and saying, I see that blade style looking just as good in flat grind, and eventually they ended up doing some flat grinds, and I wasn't the only one. So everybody who wanted to see a flat grind. They were right. The knife looked incredible in a flat grind, I thought, right? I don't know if they ever did the
Right.
survival knife in a flat grind, though.
I couldn't honestly tell you. I'm not that much of a specialist in Grohmann's, as you can tell by the fact that I already misidentified one of the knives I was talking about.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, well,
How can you remember
and
them all?
I have this conversation with people all the time. They'll come up to me and go, "What do you think of the Spider Co?" And they'll name one, right? And I'll be like, or they'll name a company like, brand or a knife from a model from which is a relatively new company, right? And then
Right.
I'll go, hey, I don't know that one, and they'll look at me and go, oh, and you call yourself a knife expert? So I usually have to say to them, well, name me more than 5 knife companies, and they can't because and especially now, I can't get over I mean, I didn't even know that when you showed that knife the other day at the Efron knife, I didn't even know that company existed.
Ethan,
Yeah, and I went and looked them up, and they got some really freaking good looking. Actually, I ordered one. Inky, you're on my list for forcing me to spend
thank
money.
you.
So,
Yeah, we're all good at that here.
So
So,
yeah, so
I
we're
don't
kind
know
of
that we
vanilla,
can
aren't we?
discuss blades. I don't know that we can discuss blade styles without, looking at the elephant in the room. What are your thoughts on the American Tanto point?
For me,
Either one. Iki, what do you got?
I wouldn't mind using them. I don't like sharpening them, and I like, what kind of Tanto I only like. I know you said American, but the only thing I like is like the Benchmade Striker, the 910, like the Elisha Woods design. That's
Yeah,
about as Tanto as I get. And cold steel, of course, that traditional Japanese. Just because you have to have a couple of those things.
of course you
Mini
do.
Tanto, and Tanto's brother. But American Tanto's the worst, I think.
I have one of the
You might as well have the.
original, what is it, the Magnum Tonto, or sorry, the Master Tonto with the brass skull crusher and pommel in San Mai. I've got one of those, and it's cheesy, it's over the top, but I love it.
How can you
If
not?
I ever need to stab somebody who's on the opposite side of a car door, that is the first one I'm reaching for.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's got a nice look to it. I actually have a cold steel. It's like freaking one of them. Remember when they had the 3 or 4 different sizes? I think I've got one of the
Yep.
middle sizes ones, the short sword style one, like it's a big dagger. Um, but again, it's the same thing. I might like the looks of it. So right after Kershaw's zero tolerance got away from the big fat zero tolerances and they started making stuff a little bit sleeker with more designs, they came out with a
Whoa.
scimitar. They came out with a scimitar style, right? And maybe because I'm
Right.
Middle Eastern, I really liked the scimitar style. But you know what? I couldn't carry that more than a week because it was such a pain in the ass to use, with the tip being all the way the frick back here. It was, and so
Yeah.
it's a good looking knife to me aesthetically, but it's money that I pull it out. It's pretty, and to me the Tanto is a little bit of that. I don't doubt that you can't cut stuff with it, but I'm just not into it. Like, it doesn't really. I think people like them because of their looks, and they think they look mean and tough. Because remember the original guys that brought that out? That was Blackjack, and the ad used to be in all the gun and knife magazines, where the guy's reaching in
Right.
to grab the pot and you're stabbing his hand, right? Because you're hungry and you want to skewer it, and barbecue that hand, because you're not going to be able to afford to go to the hot dog cart outside the gambling joint because he just took your money.
This
It's
happens
it's
every day.
horrible and it's way over the top, and I can't imagine I would ever actually use it for anything. For years, one of my white whales is the Master Tonto 12 in San Mai from Cold Steel. I mean, it's a short sword. I have no need for it. I don't know what the hell I would do with it if I had it, but my God, I want one.
So I
That
can't
is
remember
what
what
I
size.
think.
I
I think
can't
that's
remember
the
what
one
size.
Abe might have.
Sorry.
That's the one you might have.
Yeah,
Well,
that's.
Abe's saying he's got a dagger, so I'm wondering if he's got the taipan.
That's the
Well, no, I don't got
frontiersman.
the Taipan. I've got the Tanto, but there was multiple sizes of that one. I think I have
Yeah.
the one second from the top. I don't have the largest one, but it's large. It's like this big. It's got to be at least over. It's got to be close to 18 inches, I think. or so. It's been
Okay,
years since
that
I've
might
seen
actually be it then, because the Magnum Tanto 12 is so
12
named
inch
because it's got a
blade.
12-inch blade.
Yeah, I think that is it.
Now, you'll never guess how I pick that up. It's going to be nasty. Brace yourself. So they used to have, knife forums used to have the outdoor survival forum. Now,
Yep.
the guy, one of the major moderators on that was Terrell Hoffman. And by the way,
Yep.
as a Canadian, apparently there's the difference between the name Terrell, even though it's spelled the same thing as Terrell, and it's the pronunciation, and you got to know which one that person goes by. Anyways, because when I first met him, I kept calling him Terrell, and everybody said, that's not how you say a guy from the South's name. It's Terrell. Anyways, I go to my first practice, which I preach, and he's also a gun raider, and he really likes his guns. So he had a whole bunch of stuff there in the box, and I just missed out on getting a tactical tomahawk that was like a $300 tomahawk. But everything in the box, he said, $50. So I looked at that Tanto, and I said, I looked at a Tanto and said, I don't think you can buy the steel for $50, and I just give $50, and I picked up the Tanto, because if it wasn't that inexpensive, if it wasn't that inexpensive, I wouldn't have spent the money on it, because it was just an aesthetics thing. If a bunch of samurai broke into my house right now, I would go get that thing, and we'd start talking in subtitles, and I'd go to town on them, right? But otherwise,
It's handy if one of them is hiding behind the fridge. You can stab right through the fridge and into them.
Yeah, and then of course, you remember the old samurai movies, blood would spray all over the wall like the person was like a pressure cooker inside, right? You would stab
Of course, everybody's pressurized.
Yeah. So that's what I would use the thing for. But one of the cold steels, if we're talking about cold steels, same handle design. Do you remember the Outdoorsman?
Yeah.
I love that knife. I looked at it. It was a drop point, kind of a drop point, and I love that knife. It was a good-looking knife. But yeah, no, not a big fan of the Tanto for anything more than a wall hanger. Sorry.
Did you ever see any photographs that Terrell took?
Oh yeah, I did. He
You
was a
seen
really good
photographs
photographer.
of him?
Huh?
He's the one that taught me how to take photos. I went to his house in 2007, spent the day with him, and between him and Grant, I picked up a lot of good photo tips. I actually went to Home Depot, bought all the stuff, and built my own photo tent. I bought these big, like the yellow construction lights, the two lights.
Yeah.
And he did it in a certain way that no one did it. And I tried it his way. What I was doing wrong was, and I told Grant, the square box where you aim and where your focus is, I was like standing across the room trying to get the whole knife in the box instead of centering the box on the knife. And once I figured that part out, man, now I could take a picture that you could almost see good. I got really great.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, he taught me a lot. He was a good.
I never claimed to be a photographer, but these Pixel Series phones, I mean, they make anybody an excellent photographer in no time. And no, we aren't sponsored by Google, but we could be. So Google, if you're listening, feel free to send us money.
Yeah, we're talking about before smartphones, This was pre-smartphone era.
He helped me out with my photography big time, and I spent some money on some cameras. Him and Mark Zaliski, who's the editor of Knife World Magazine and Knife Magazine. It was first Knife World and Knife. And so what I constructed was I had a 4x4 piece of plywood downstairs, and I basically built a white nylon lean-to.
Yes,
and because
that's what he used.
Yeah.
And I went home and copied what he had in the small version. Exactly.
So how big was his? Because I know mine was, like I said, it was a 4x4 piece of plywood, and I had lights standing on either side and in the back, over the back. I had them suspended back over the top. I got great lighting in there.
I only used the back.
Okay.
Like street construction lights. His was about, I'd say it was more like 5 or 6 feet. And he was just pretty much like, he'd have stuff down, like leaves or whatever, and he'd just take the knife and throw it in. It landed, he'd start taking pictures of it. It was amazing. Just kind of plopped it in there.
He was so sought after for his photography. Not that he was a good writer, but he was so much more sought after for his photography. There were times when I was doing certain articles, they would have the knives go to him first to take the pictures before I beat them up. And then they'd send them to me, and I'd beat them up. And he did, yeah, you're right. He did the lathe thing. His tent was bigger too because he had guns. He did a lot of gun writing, I think, probably. And I didn't do that much gun writing. Nowadays, what really is tough because I'm writing for the magazines is they're like, if we're going to go off on a little tangent of photography, is they have a rule: use background once, throw it away. And it's like that gets expensive. That gets like, I'm spending $65 on a piece of caiman print or alligator print leather to use as the background. So obviously I don't throw it away. I make something out of it later just to keep every article. If I'm buying anywhere from $20 to $60 worth of background material, there goes my profit for my article.
Absolutely.
I just use white, plain white.
I wish I could, but they don't. I wish that I could, but they get very picky about it. I remember one time I bought some stuff that was really nice quilted material, and I had to redo all the pictures because the art department thought it looked like a paper towel.
Yeah, for catalog shots, you want a white background because it's easy to kind of Photoshop everything else out and concentrate on the tool. But for magazine pictures, you need something around it,
like this is your item.
Yeah.
There's no distractions.
Yeah, so on a catalog photo, you definitely want that white background or an all black background. But on the magazine, I mean, you want theme, right? So if you're gonna be like an outdoors knife, you want to have some other outdoors stuff. Preferably some stuff that's not shiny and new.
Chestnuts and pine cone.
Yeah, all kinds of things like that.
Well, not just that. Like I started something new. I accidentally started something new so I'll tell you what happens. I was into wilderness survival and camping and stuff like that. And I was doing an article on kit knives. So small folding knives that would go into a small kit. And of course, if you got the right size tin, the A-LOX is perfect, right? That's a nice knife to put into a tin kit and actually have a viable knife instead of these crappy things that you get in a lot of these kits, and you're making your own kit up. So here's what I started that was new by total accident was from Mountain Equipment Co-op, and Grant would know about Mountain Equipment Co-op. They had this really neat tin that had 2 compartments in it and a rubber seal, and the side locks were wires with rollers on them. So you would roll up over the rim on the tin, and it would lock it watertight. And so it was easy to take the clips off instead of fighting with wire clips because they were rollers, and you would grab a hold and just pull them back like that, and then they would roll back up over the rim. Henry Rifle adopted if I had mine to show you, it's around here somewhere. Henry Rifle adopted the same sort of thing, except for instead of a tin that was about this big, Henry Rifle made a survival tin about this big, and it had the same locking system on it, right? And it went with their folding, their survival rifle where you put everything in the butt. But here's what came out of it. I put that tin in there with all the Swiss Army knives and some extra survival gear I had to show that it goes inside the tin. And then that was the cover, the main shot for the article. Bruce Voiles got so many frickin' emails as to where they can buy that tin at. Bruce wrote me an email and he said, never again are you to use something in there that you can't tell people where to buy it. From now on, if you put any extra props in any of the pictures, because the email response was like, he didn't tell me how many emails, but he was pissed because he had to find a way to answer all these emails and maybe put it in things. So, and what pissed him off was when I said, well, there's no company name on it, and the place that sold it to me doesn't sell them anymore. Now he's like, no more, I don't care. Don't ever throw anything in there that you can't tell people where to buy it.
Yeah, that's the number one thing that we see on Facebook. Everybody's posting, pocket dumps and their latest gizmos and gadgets, and half the time they got, they're trying to show off their new knife or something, and somebody's asking about other stuff in the photo. But then, Inky and I have a history of doing that too. You remember all the feet pics we used to make fun of back in the day, Inky?
Like someone would put the knife on the bed, and I'd be like, how much for the bed? Because the knife was like in the middle of the bed.
Yeah. There was also a seller on eBay years ago. I don't know if you recall him. I don't remember what his name was, but he used to balance every knife on his girlfriend's ample and scantily clad bosoms. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, so I thought that was a bit of an unfair advantage, but...
You know what I did recently? This guy had, I don't remember if it was a wallet or a knife, and he put it. He had a picture of it next to the TV remote, and I wrote and said, "Can you give me the measurements of the remote?" And the guy sent me the remote measurements. I was like, "Wow!" I thought he'd understand and tell me how big the item was, you know. The dude, I mean, it was like very technical too, like 6 and 7 eighths, and by 3 5s, whatever, 16ths. I was like, damn. And he could measure that remote like that, but he couldn't measure the knife next to it, you know. People are
That's
crazy.
hilarious.
That's a problem. I find I was talking to somebody the other day, and how people, when you mention something, they're always like, oh, they've got a different take on it and they're right about it. So in Canada, you can buy a firearm and it can be mailed to you. And so we have a site that sells knives and guns. It's called Guns Post, and they also sell any kind of equipment you want. They'll sell a backpack. You can list anything you want. I can't tell you how many times guys put shotguns up, and I'm like, how long is the frickin' barrel, asshole? Like, that's an important aspect of buying a competition, because I shoot competition, sporting games. The guns I'm buying are not for shooting animals. I'm not against shooting animals. I'm just saying it's a specific thing. And certain sports have certain length barrels, and it's like you gotta message the guy and go, dude, how long is the frickin' barrel? Does it come with jokes? There's so many things you got to figure. If you buy the item, if I buy a knife and I'm a knife guy buying knives, I want to know how long the handle is, how long the blade is, how long the thing is open. I want to know what steel is it made out of. And obviously with good pictures, I don't have to guess what the grind is. Do you guys list that? No. Drives me absolutely crazy.
You have to list it all.
Yeah, I think you'll find that a lot of people nowadays don't, particularly the Instagram crowd, or as Abe calls them, the Gucci people. They're buying the latest and greatest and not really paying attention to the specs. They're posting photos on Instagram with like, look at me, look at what I just got. And then, that knife gets sold or put in a drawer or something and never actually cuts anything unless for some reason they need to take a photo of it cutting something, but then it'll probably stay in the drawer and they get a prettier or newer knife out to do it.
Yeah. Having mentioned that was the beauty of Spyderco. We all like Spyderco. They make a good knife. But one of the things that got them to be so popular was Joyce Latourie is retired now. But I probably mentioned this. God knows if I repeat myself, sometimes you forget what the discussion was. They had a vote, and Spyderco came in really, out of all knife companies, Spyderco came in really close to Buck as the top knife company, and they were just behind them. And Gerber wasn't, Spyderco beat Gerber out. But the reason why I think that happened was you talk to a Buck guy and they'll say, well, why'd you buy that knife? Oh, it's a Buck. It's a good knife. But then you talk to a Spyderco guy and it's like, oh, it's compression lock and the steel they use is 5160 and I've got textured fiber reinforced nylon handles and I've got this tight a wire clip on it so it doesn't stand out of my pocket. They educated their people. Their people were educated in what they were buying. And so they had that confidence that when they walked out in public and they had to discuss about their knives, they could say more than, well, it's a Spyderco. That's my take on things. So I think there's a big difference.
If you're a knife enthusiast, you can always pretty much see a knife from across the room, like a banana enthusiast. They would know if it's Chiquita or Dole. We know if it's Spyderco or Benjamin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. One of the neat things was I was in Greece a few years ago, and I probably shouldn't give this out because I really want to try and message the guy and see if I can get it. But we went into there's these military fashion like Maxpedition and Ruco and that kind of stuff is really big there. And so in this place called Monastiraki Square, which is kind of like, Athens' version of Times Square, there's all these shops along the side of it. And one of these military-style shops, I went downstairs, and they had in the case from the 90s an old Benchmade AFC-K. And I thought to myself, my God, we'd already put our bags aside. We were checking, we'd already checked out of our Airbnb. Our bags were packed, so I had no way of bringing it home. But one of these days I'm going to message that guy and see if he still has it, because I mean, it was just an absolutely perfect AFCK from, like I said, from the 90s. It was fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. Those finds are really nice. So
Yeah, the FCKs are always collectible too.
Yeah, that was the scary part, was how much was he going to want for it.
Probably, you never know.
and for guys like us that have been in it this long, like, and I've probably mentioned this before, is Almar. Almar was a top-notch company and still makes a top-notch product, but nobody, the current generation, especially the Gucci generation, sorry about that, guys, just not to be mean to you, but you got no, I mean, some of these guys that came before you, I mean, like, you look at pocket knife, Queen's gone. But Queen made some damn good knives, especially their Shat and Morgan line. That was top notch.
Yeah.
Great handle material, hard to find. They were very choice, very well made knives. I've got a couple of Shat and Morgans, and so it almost the problem we run into, and we even run this into in the magazine industry, and in a way we don't right now because of this very conversation we're having, is I can't write about the good old days of buying a Sear 2000 from Almar, because they might still sell them, but I don't even know how well Almar is doing these days because it's been sold. You look at like a bolt action.
Hey, he used the deep
Gerber.
carry pocket clip.
Sorry.
So he used the deep carry pocket clip back in the day, didn't he? Didn't Almar
What, the
have
Sear
that?
2000?
Yeah, the Sear 2000 with the VG10 blade. That was kind of daggery, wasn't it?
It was more. It was a tactical with I think if I remember the scales, I've got a couple of them. It's just been a while since I looked at them. One of my favorite ones from Almar that really didn't catch on, I thought it was a great knife, was the Nomad. I really like this folk flat ground knife. Great handle design.
Another good classic.
Elliptical leaf blade. Yeah,
It was good.
There's a bunch out there, and then you
Great
keep your eye out
picture,
for American-made trades. Those are good knives, the American-made trades.
They were excellent knives. Unfortunately, since Trade went under and Taylor Cutlery took over, they have been actual crap. Did I ever tell you about Bob and I at the SHOT Show one year, just after Taylor Cutlery had taken over? We went to the Schrade booth, and Bob grabbed the latest iteration of the ST1 Tough Tool and literally crushed it in his hands. He was like, hey, watch this, and he just grabbed it, went, and the handles just smushed together. And I mean, everything will flex a little bit. This Leatherman Bond here I was just complaining about a couple of weeks ago. You can see that when you squeeze it, it flexes a little bit. They all do that. But, it springs back. Well, this didn't spring back. He just smushed the handles together in his hand. And we took pictures of it. It's all over the forum, actually. But yeah, we basically have it next to one that's not crushed, and you got the handles here and the other handles here like this. And needless to say, we took the pictures and we got the hell out of that booth as quickly as we could because we didn't want to have to pay for that thing.
Yeah.
He's like
Bob,
G.I. Bob with a kung fu grip.
Well, he is a machinist, so he's got a pretty strong grip anyway. Yeah. But even so, you shouldn't be crushing a multi-tool with your hands.
You shouldn't be able to crush a multi-tool, actually.
Yeah. Well, that was the year I think I met you and Bob at SHOT Show, right? That was the year that I met you. I believe you and Bob at the SHOT Show, and we took that picture.
Well,
I still have that picture where there's that statue out in front of the building where it's the dancers, and they're standing with their backs. It's a statue of dancers. They're all standing with their backs and their hands on each other's asses. Bob and I stood next to the picture. If I recall correctly, Bob does have a firm grip because his hand was on my ass and it was a pretty firm grip. So I'm just saying, that might not be a fair comparison.
I am. Bob has told me in no uncertain circumstances am I allowed to discuss that photo, so I'm just gonna pretend like I don't know anything about it.
I will dig that photo up so we can show it on here one day. Everybody, I'm gonna warn you right now. That photo I think that was Bob's idea to take that photo, and it was totally sober inspired.
If such a night existed, and I am not confirming or denying, but if such an evening ever existed, man, that was a great night.
I still remember.
Or at least it would be if it existed, which I will not confirm or deny.
So if that night didn't exist, I remember the one time this was a sad mistake we made because, you sometimes you forget. You remember that when we jaywalked across Las Vegas Boulevard and we were hoofing it, and all of a sudden we look back and Grant's limping and he's going. He reminds us that he had an ankle shattered and he can't run anymore. And meanwhile we're thinking, I hope he makes it. That car's coming freaking quick.
It was a nice car. It would have been a great lawsuit.
Yeah.
Again, if such a thing ever happened, which I will not confirm or deny.
Yeah, the only thing missing is we didn't steal a cop car. I would have, if we thought to do that, that would have made that hell of a time memorable.
There's still time.
I'm just too old to steal a cop car, dude. Especially the fact that they're using those low ones. Now, if you want to steal an SUV cop car, I'm in on that because that's up. But if we're gonna go like into a Charger or a Chrysler Venture, no. Avenger, no, it's just too low. My back won't handle it. I'll pull a muscle in my hand.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really want to get down into a car anymore either. But, we started off this episode talking about blade styles, and now we're talking about stealing cop cars while cleaning our ears.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see, is that a key? Or are you trying to start something up there? My dad used to do that all the time with the keys. Okay, here's my question for you two guys.
Yeah, shoot.
What do you think of these little buggers? Like, are you into jibbing? Do you consider jibbing a necessary thing on your knife? That jibbing. Do you consider it?
Just in case. What's that?
Could you take it or leave it? Huh? It's the regular grip joint, the 561. I think this is.
Yeah, I could take it, but I don't have to have it. I'd rather have it.
I would actually also prefer to have jimping on the back of the blade, especially when you're wearing gloves. Yeah. I find that it just provides that extra little bit of grip that, that there's a caveat to that as well. A lot of the manufacturers, especially the newer, less experienced manufacturers who produce stuff without actually using them, sometimes the jimping can be a little bit overly aggressive and can, really dig into your thumb. And those ones I can't say I care for. I can't think of any off the top of my head that I have that are like that, but I have definitely encountered that in the past. But, probably 80% of the knives that are out there have good jimping on them, and I like it.
When I'm out there working on those oil rigs, wearing my real thick gloves, I get an oil fire occurs, and I got to cut that oil line and count on the jimping in my gloves and my reflexes.
Tell me you've never been on an oil rig without telling me you've never been on an oil rig.
I've never been on an oil rig, and I'm not telling you that.
Yeah. So, no, you're right. That's what I was going to bring up. It's sometimes the jimping can be a bit aggressive. And over the years, when I reviewed some knives, I have hit some that I didn't like the jimping. It was leaving marks in my hand. Some of them get so sharp you can even get little cuts if you put too much pressure.
Yeah. I tried to apply jimping to the back of one knife. I can't remember what this was. It was years ago, and I used a cut-off wheel on a Dremel tool, and I just totally screwed it up. But it was definitely a knife that needed some jimping. I just don't recall off the top of my head what it was. Do you remember us talking about that, Inky? I feel like we must have.
I don't know.
No,
I know we both tried
familiar.
some knife things.
5 minutes after we're off the show, Inky will go, "Oh, wait a minute, hold on, Eureka." That
Yeah,
always
I'll
happens to
stop
me.
holy tomorrow.
5 minutes after the show. No, as soon as I hit the stop button on the recording session, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, and that was." But anyways, on that note, we are coming to the end of yet another show. So, have we got any final thoughts that we want to share? What about you, Inky? Do you want to go first? I'll take that as a no. Okay. Abe, have you got any final thoughts you'd like to share on blade styles?
Not so much blade styles, but head to the forum, and I'm not just saying this so we can get an advertisement in. We'd like to hear from some of you guys. I mean, one of the things we brought up on multiple occasions is there's knife companies like Inky told me about the Ephraim, and I looked them up, and they got a shitload of stuff to offer, and I picked a couple of models and ordered them. Now, I don't want to spend more money, but I'm more than willing to be persuaded. So, go to the discussion forum, which Grant will tell you about, and you can tell us some of your stuff. You can tell us why you like a blade style more than others. We covered profiles, but we didn't cover, do you like drop points hollow ground or flat ground? Like, if you've got a pocket knife, like a pocket knife, I prefer a hollow ground. So without going on too much further, head there. Let's go deeper into this. We can do that.
Yep, that sounds like a good plan.
We didn't talk about specific knives for specific jobs. I think we were just talking about general, everyday, regular knife shapes and blades that we like.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what happened. As I mentioned, I mean, this is a discussion that we can fill the next 20 episodes of this podcast on, and then some, and still not cover everything that we want to do. Abe, since we've got you here, and since this is kind of right up your alley, or at least it was until not too long ago, I just got the new Lee Valley Tools catalog in, and I'm seeing this Beaver Craft belt knife. Are you familiar with that one? Any thoughts you want to share on that?
I'd have to see it because, like, I mean, they had 100,000 SKUs, and sometimes one of the ones I was really impressed with, they got in a Japanese carving knife kit that you put together, and that blade was wicked.
I believe this one is also available in kit form as well.
Yeah, that's new. That I don't know that one. I can put my hands on it. I just got to go back to the old store where I worked and take a look at it. Yeah, I could. You know, what was really funny is I had a chapter in, and they knew this. The guy, the vice president of the company, knew this. I have a chapter in Blade's third edition on how to make knives. I have the Bushcraft chapter, and everything like that. And he said, "Oh, I'd really like to read that." So I gave him one of the copies I have of my own, and I autographed it, the whole entire bit. And then they brought in a book on how to make knives, and guess whose book it wasn't? Not the one I was in. Bastards. Anyway, sorry. A little bitter there.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So I think we decided what kind of, generally, we all tend to like a good drop point. So manufacturers, if you're out there, give us more drop points. And that's going to pretty much wind this up for this evening. If you like what you see, and I hate it when content creators do this, but it does work, so hit that like button, give us, whatever star rating. I don't honestly know what kind of different podcast ratings there are, but give us an upvote. Make sure to subscribe and come visit us at forum.multitool.org. Let us know your thoughts, and we would absolutely love to hear them. So until next time, since I haven't come up with a really good saying to sign off on, I'm just going to say, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for joining us.
Take care, guys.